Well, there's a huge need for specialty referrals. I'm not sure how much introduction you've had, but we're in a rural area. We're Humboldt and Del Norte counties, and we've had kind of an out migration of specialists in the last few years, and so right now it's kind of a crunch. So that's the main thing is how hard it is to get our patients specialty access. Um, so we have it on both sides. And so when I talk to the specialists, we have it on both sides. We have that our primary care providers feel very frustrated that they can't get the consult support that they need, the specialty support that they need. So they feel like they're kind of out there on the edge, not doing the right thing for their patient necessarily. And on the other side of it, many of the specialists feel like a lot of the referrals that they're getting from our staff are not particularly well thought out or aren't necessary and could be handled without, in an easier way. I've seen this eConsult, I've seen demonstrations of the eConsult in a couple different places at the CHCF Leadership Consortium, and so I've been interested in the idea for a long time because of that, and I was very glad that partnership worked with us to make that available for certain specialties at least. The main challenges for the system is that the workflows are cumbersome. So from the provider point of view, the provider has to exit the workspace, log on to a website, learn how to use that website, and go forward. I'm pretty sure that once you do it a few times, and my own experience is once you do it a few times, it's not very hard, and you get more facile with it. I've had pretty positive feedback from the providers, and then other providers just, even though we did training, if 2 or 3 weeks goes by before it comes up for them to do a consult, then they're not going to remember what it even is or how to get into the site and all that stuff. They need support around that, so we're trying to figure out how to build support for them around that. Okay. I haven't heard anything negative about the experience itself. I mean, I know that some specialists have been concerned from the point of view of feeling that they might have some liability exposure, or they might, be something. I'm not sure exactly what they're worried about, but I think when people actually start using it, they find out that, the specialists, if they get the relevant data, and once again, that's a hard thing to do, but if they get the relevant data and we ask a pertinent question, then either they can answer the question or they can't. And if they can't answer, they just tell us that. I have to see that person, or I need more information. And if they can answer it, then they can, and then everybody's better off. So as far as ease and feedback, I think other than the thing of getting onto a new system, and since we have like, I don't know, you said we've done 45 consults, and we have like 50 or 60 or 70 providers. So most of our providers haven't done it. So when it comes up for them, and if it's been even more time since their training, it's clunky. One of the problems for us is that it's only available right now for partnership only patients. And we have a lot of people who want referrals who are dual eligible or who are Medicare or something else, and so we built our workflows so that the default, if people are eligible for eConsult, if the specialty's there, and if the person is an eligible partnership patient, that the default will be for eConsult first, which I think is the right way to do it. But the providers don't necessarily know at the time they make the referral which way the referral is going to go. We're still building these systems and getting used to it. Now that said, it's been a wonderful thing. I've got some great feedback from some of our providers who, like rheumatology is a really big one. We don't have, I'm sorry,
Okay.
an endocrinologist. We haven't had an endocrinologist in Humboldt County for forever. And so tricky thyroid questions or tricky, other kinds of endocrine questions can get answered pretty quickly, and it's been very helpful. The patients that I've done that way have been very pleased. I mean, they've trusted my sense that if I can get the information from the specialist that I need, that they don't have to travel anywhere, and they're very relieved about that.
Yeah.
And it's so much faster. I mean, right now, if I try to make a referral to an endocrinologist, somebody's gonna have to drive for, a couple hundred miles and wait 3 or 4 months, and I'm getting answers back on these kinds of questions. I'm getting answers back within a couple of days. So that's a very strong satisfier for all of us. Yeah, I do. I recommend it to them all the time. I mean, I think that I'm still hopeful. It's harder work than I thought it was going to be. I thought there'd be quicker uptake by now. There's more, all these initiatives just take I had a CEO one time that told me, he said to me, Bill, you just have to get used to the stately pace of administration. So, so I thought that was kind of helpful to me to calm me down, because I'm always thinking, God, I got these patients, all these needs, and here's a good thing. Let's just go. But I think that if we can get this going, and if we can build momentum, and I'm hopeful that this partnership project is like a seed thing, to get it going and learn how to do it and kind of build our chops, because the local IPA is interested, the local specialists that are contracted through St. Joe's Health System are interested, and every time I get a chance, I say, look, we can't get the specialty access for our patients, and if we can sharpen up those referrals, if we can make sure that the people who actually get to the specialist in front of them are the actual ones that they really need to see, that they really will be able to help. I think that's going to go a long way towards making a big dent in the access to specialists problem that we have in rural areas, especially in the safety net clinics. Well, I don't know. I wish we had better workflow. I mean, I guess look at the workflows carefully, and the training and the practice is always, it's like any change management thing. When you're starting a new thing, you have to have a champion probably, and you probably have to have keep trying and keep feeding back and hope that, keep that vision of how it can be helpful going, because it is harder than you think. I have a patient who's had Graves' disease and had thyroidectomy. I've been following on her yearly exam. This time, her dose of replacement thyroid has been the same for 15 years, and her TSH had gone down, and her T4 had gone up a little bit. So she's getting more thyroid, and I don't really know. I wasn't quite sure how to think about that, and so I sent that off as a consult with the data, and the specialist said, well, probably as she gets older, she has less estrogen and therefore less binding of the thyroid, and maybe the dose that she's been getting all this time, she doesn't need quite as much anymore. Just try reducing the dose and then check the TSH again. It's possible that thyroid is regrowing, and if it does, then you can do this and that about it. And I said, oh, that was helpful. Took her, a couple of minutes to give me that advice from her perspective. I felt like it was something I wasn't confident about. And I felt like I had support, so I emailed my patient and told her to change her doses, and we're going to get the follow-up labs, and so that was great. I had another patient who had a stroke, and so she was kind of altered from the stroke, and then she had 15 years ago, and then 5 years ago, or 7 or 8 years ago, she had a second stroke, and during the second stroke, she had a grand mal seizure, so she was started on Dilantin, and she was just maintained on it, and she had a whole big long medication list, and she was having dry mouth and some things, and I sort of wondered, well, does she have to keep taking this Dilantin? And so I sent that off as a consult to my local eConsult guy, and the neurologist said, well, probably not. Why don't you reduce the dose a little bit, do an EEG. If the EEG doesn't show any bad things, then you can probably just take her off of it. And I felt very helped by that. I felt a little anxious to do that without support. And I have another guy, a young guy, who's got really bad Graves' disease and never takes care of himself. His thyroid's always out of whack. And he came in, and I was able to converse with the specialist, and she was giving me advice about dosing of the methimazole and telling me that I really should get him to see an endocrinologist. And I'm telling her, well, that's fine, but he's way out in the mountains and he never comes to town even to see me. So, but I still really felt like I was giving better service because I had that backup and that support, and it was pretty easy to access that. So, those are a couple of my cases.